When I wake up every morning, there's no one to pass the buck, there's no one to point the finger. If this location's not doing well, whose fault it is? It's my fault. Because at some level, there could have been some different coaching or system or thing that I built out to better support that person. If I make a decision that impacts a client or a franchise partner or team negatively, ultimately that's on me. It's just the weight is probably what keeps me up at night. But I also think it's a good thing because we all know this to be true. Human nature takes the path of least resistance. A good mental trick. Every single time I'm in an airport where there's an escalator and a stairs, do me one favor, my friends, and never take the escalator. Take the damn stairs every single time. You are projecting to the world that you are willing to take the path of harder resistance.
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
Hey there, friends. Bryce Henson, your fitness CEO, and shooting an intro off a recent podcast episode that we just shot. And really what we did is we brought in all of our franchise partners that just finished on-site experience, which on-site experience is our new coaches and new franchise partners, I should say, onboarding training, where we bring them out to California. We also have a location in Michigan for a 5-day practical intensive event. So we can give them the on-site experience to lay the foundation for what they're gonna be doing as opening their own Fit Body Bootcamp location. So it's a great way to do a debrief, learn a lot, connect, and also provide some coaching. So I think you're gonna love the episode, so get ready and stay tuned.
At a very high level, is there anything that keeps you up at night regarding the business that you can share?
Everything. Everything.
Top things. Top three.
Well, it's interesting. The one challenge from a franchise or perspective that you're not going to experience on a client perspective is the level of investment in the buy-in and commitment is exponentially more when a franchise partner, when you guys are coming to our brand versus when Mrs. Jones signs up for a 28-day or 6-week UTP, you know? So at the end of the day, the level of commitment, but also to the expectation of delivery is that much higher. People are investing in their life savings in this. When I interview someone on the Zoom interview, which I've done you all, like, with full conviction, I give you my vision of what the opportunity is going to look like, what my experience has been like. It's not all sunshines and rainbows, and I'm very clear on that. This is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, and it will probably be, at least for a period of time, until you get good, because eventually you're going to get really good at this. You know, it's going to be probably the hardest thing that you do. But really, you know, feeling the weight of the franchise, and this is like part of leadership in business. When I wake up every morning, there's no one to pass the buck, there's no one to point the finger. If this location's not doing well, if this system is not, whose fault it is? It's my fault. Because at some level, there could have been some different coaching or system or thing that I built out to better support that person. And Keem and I were talking about on Sunday, you know, I'll kind of circle back to this, his kind of dilemma where he wants to still be involved, but there's other things that he needs to do in the business. For me, my biggest value in the business is building infrastructure for you. It's literally the conversation I had yesterday, which still needs to materialize. It was a 3-hour conversation that put a lot of time, effort, had a vision for, connected with Joel and Barrett and laid out this particular vision. It's going to be massive. The whole brand's going to fully realize this on April 1st when everything's built out in the academy. That's been a problem of mine for quite a long time, from like the alignment in terms of the marketing assets and the grand scheme of things. All the content and the sales process was really strong, but without going further detail in this particular training, I just made a couple of adjustments to align the whole brand so that from an alignment perspective, from all our marketing, we're going to be aligned, from our sales process, we're going to be aligned, while also giving the autonomy to you and our franchise partners to run different marketing campaigns that all different align. So this has been on my mind and like keeping me up at night for the last like 2 years. In about 30 days, I had a vision, actually reading a book, $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. If you guys have heard of Mr. Alex Hormozi, highly recommend his content, game-changing. So that was a huge, you know, kind of eye-opener that's really going to solve a big problem into next year. So that's just one example, Felipe. I think just generally speaking, it's just the weight. It's a heavy role. And, you know, especially looking back in COVID, actually, when everything went down on March 16th, I'm sitting here at the time, I was the VP, Bezos was the CEO, we're here. And when everything went down, we just got reports that, hey, your brick and mortar franchise system, that your franchise partners have invested their life savings to come to open a brick and mortar, now different local jurisdictions are saying they can't open their doors anymore. What does that look like? That felt so heavy. Now the good news, I had very strong leadership in the room, and at many times, actually, we were jovial and laughing. Eve was probably nervous laugh. No one ever actually had this conversation afterwards, but ultimately, feeling the weight of the franchise and realizing we have to adapt and overcome. But the good news is, within 24 hours, Barth indicated this yesterday, like we had figured it out. Now we still had to build more infrastructure and lay a plan in place. And that gives you a little bit more tactical, I guess, example, but kind of bringing it back down, it's just the overall burden of leadership. And you're going to feel it because, your team and your clients are depending on you. And for me, if I make a decision, okay, that impacts a client or a franchise partner or team negatively, ultimately that's on me, right? And you got to deal with that. So I would say to kind of come full circle on that, it's just the weight is probably what keeps me up at night. But I also think it's a good thing, because we all know this to be true. Human nature takes the path of least resistance. A good mental trick, every single time I'm in an airport, every single time I'm a place where there's an escalator and a stairs, I want you to look at this, and I take a picture every single time. Do me one favor, my friends, never take the escalator. Take the damn stairs every single time. You are projecting to the world that you are willing to take the path of harder resistance. You're projecting to the world that I'm going to be better than I am yesterday. Sadly, human nature does not do that. Okay, so the good news is like we're cut from a different cloth, but you're going to feel that weight, that burden. But the good news is as you get more reps and sets, you just become more capable. Bryce 1.0, before when I was drinking alcohol, I'm a recovering alcoholic, by the way. I don't think I covered that. When I was drinking alcohol and when I wasn't dialed in, I would not have been able to persist the weight of this particular system. But the good news is I continue to grow, and I should look back in 2025 and 26 and be like, hey, that 2023 version of Bryce was good, but holy smokes, man, what growth have we seen? And that's just really the call to action for you to develop as leaders, because when you develop as leaders, your shoulders get bigger and you get stronger to handle the burden.
What advice do you have for people who, I'll just say like me, like many of us here, we work full time, and we jumped in 2 feet with an investment? What does that kind of look like? Or from other franchise owners and their journeys, how can we make that transition or get to be successful and comfortable to make the transition to drop our full-time jobs and be ready to move into, Fit Body Bootcamp full-time, and even those who have visions to grow, with more locations?
The good news is that within our structure, within the format that we have a model that works for a wide variety of people. And I want to encourage you, before you make incredibly grandiose plans in terms of expansion, all the stuff, which we want you to expand. Our vision is we would rather have, we'll just call it easy math, 500 franchise partners with 2 locations than 1,000 franchise partners with 1 location. The same with you, like it's just easier in terms of manage and whatnot, right? So the vision is that all of our franchise partners will eventually open their second location. That's not a requirement. Some are going to open 3 to 5 and some are going to stay with 1, and that's okay. And that's okay too. But the reason I share this with you is every one of you on your own different journey. And I always use this example. One of my dear friends, who's not in the brand anymore, he was our most successful owner for a very long time, based in the Midwest. He had 10 locations, okay? He had an incredibly thriving business. He's a dear friend, so I learned so much from him, and he added so much value to Fit Body over the last decade. He's then transitioned to business coaching consulting. I have another franchise partner who's on our coaching profitability team named Tom Huff. He has no interest in having more than 1 location, which is totally fine. His vision, he wants to be the mayor of Richardson, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. He wants to be able to not coach all the sessions, but he wants to coach a couple blocks of sessions. He wants to know his team. He wants to know his clients. He wants to know the mayor. He wants to go to the Chamber of Commerce meeting. He wants to be the epicenter of Richardson, Texas Fit Body Bootcamp, which is an incredible vision. And that works really, really well from him. Especially he's high parrot, likes to connect with people. My other friend Matt that I was referring to wants no part of that. His role when he scaled to 10 locations, his role as an owner looks very different than Tom's look at owner, who's the mayor of his town, right? Matt's on the back end, his day-to-day execution was leading and managing his team. None of his clients knew him. In fact, many times his clients wouldn't like him because the's he's like an ivory tower, if you will, because he had this massive operation. So all this to say is your vision can be unique to you, and that just gives you 2 vision of very successful owners in our brand that have just 2 different visions of what their business wants to look like, and there's no right or wrong. It's up to you. So what I encourage you to take the next 12 months just to understand the business model, learn the business model. You're going to learn and grow so much. There was a period of time that I would have actually said Barrett likes the business more than I do. I disagree. I think we like the business equal amount. We're like in this vision together, my brother and business partner, etc. But he actually likes the coaching, the kinesiology element of the business. I like the scalability, the growth, the actual back end of the business. We like the business, the same. Like we love it. This is our lives, but we just like different aspects of the business. So for you, Megan, when you go through this experience, you're just going to learn a lot about yourself, about the business, about meeting clients. Give yourself that space for the first 12 months just to learn. And then from there, you'll have a better understanding of what you want to attack. Do you want to be a multi-location owner? Do you want to be the mayor of Columbus, as an example? There's no right or wrong answer. So I want to kind of create some space for the framework. And then big picture in terms of, having a full-time job and all that. What I do know to be true is that if and when you're able to put more focus in the business, your business will skyrocket. I kept my full-time sales job for the first 18 months of the business. I probably held on to it probably 6 to 9 months longer than I should have. But in hindsight, I'm glad I kept it for the first solid year, because it's never a good situation, because for me, I invested my life savings in this business. And granted, the investment was much lower at the time in 2012. The amount of infrastructure was much lower at the time. So that was, helpful. But at the end of the day, I would have been living hand to mouth if I didn't do that. And what that did is it allowed me to invest every single dollar back into the business for the first 18 months, which is a massive win. So looking back, it was the right move. What happened though, when I realized, is in that month 18, from the time that I transitioned out, that following 6 months even, like my business just erupted because I put full focus in. So I'm not going to give you a very owl-esque answer. I read you as like owl, eagle, owl. I could be wrong. I'm going to give you like a parrot answer. I just have a feeling. I just can feel it out. But that's hard to actually teach and coach. So hopefully that big picture gives you some big picture strategy, but also a little bit of tactical perspective.
Eagle, owl is right.
There you go.
No dove, no parrot.
I like people. Actually, why I love leadership and why I like the business aspect, I love people. I connect with people. It's interesting. Joel, who's our director of business development, he's a numbers guy. He's a data guy. He'll look at spreadsheets and he just gets fired up on that. I need to understand, how to access numbers and make data-driven decisions as your CEO. If I didn't do that, abort mission now, my friends. But that doesn't mean actually I love it and I need to spend a lot of time on it. I just, surround myself with a lot of co-pilots. There's a lot of co-pilots I have in this room that do things that I have no idea how to do, but they make it happen when you kind of set the vision. But for me, while Joel coaches me on the data, he'll reach out to me on a monthly basis, whether it be HQ or with his team. He has some people problems that he loves some insight. So give me some people problems. I love me some people. I'll be able to navigate that. But I'm going to leave the data problems to him. So in any case, kind of putting a bow on it. That's why I love leadership. That's why I love people. That's why I love our business, because it's the people business.
Going based off of her question, kind of, how were you able to juggle both while you were still working? Like, how many times did you go to the gym? And, like, was it affecting your other job at the same time, stressing about that? Like, how did you juggle both?
Yeah, if you ask Tatiana, it was definitely like a very strenuous time in life and a relationship and business. But on one hand, it was like such an exciting time. Yeah. Like, it's kind of one of those situations, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was just fired up, like ready to go. Reminded me when I met Joakim at World Conference, like just fired. I was like, dude, this guy's going to be freaking great. I saw myself in him and vice versa. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm speaking for myself, not Joakim. I'm speaking for myself. I had no idea what he's like, well, I'm with you, Bryce. I was excited. I was fired up. So that passion really, allowed me to push forward. I'm also a very disciplined guy. There's a lot of weaknesses I have, and there's a lot of, things I don't do well. But discipline has been not only factory installed, but developed. So I just have a really disciplined structure. Up by 4, be at boot camp training the first couple sessions. We had a mid-morning block for break, which we do now. I'd work out in that particular block. Then I'd train the next 2 sessions. Because at that time, Tatiana told me and convinced herself that she could not be a great coach.
She's great.
She's great.
She's great.
Everyone says this, right? And then finally I'm like, Tatiana, I love you. We're going to get a divorce. Not because I want to, because I'm going to be dead, unless I enlist your help to be able to coach. And now, she's absolutely awesome. But for the first 6 months, it wasn't like that. And then she joined forces. But then from there, once the mid-morning sessions were done, then it was like full court press for 7 hours in terms of, 1, trying to do some marketing work and, grow the business in the back end, but also 2, diving in and making sure my other sales job was finished. hours, and then 4:15 when clients came in again for a 4:30 session, I would do that. And at that period of time, I actually had a call at 8 p.m. After sessions were done, back to my other full-time job from 8 to 9 to coach someone from our Hong Kong office, etc. And then I go sleep from 9 to 4 and just do it all over again. And that's not long-term sustainable, but success is that, there's not many times people are always like, you need to find balance. You need to find balance. I think there's good in terms of balance and equilibrium of our bodies and all that. And there is, I think, generally speaking, big balance, but there's times in like cycles of the seasons of life. And when you're starting out, your season is like you're putting your head down and you're doing whatever it takes. And it's going to suck, and it's going to suck really, really bad. But if I didn't do that work, I'm not sitting in the table with you today. And now I work probably just as hard, if not even harder, but actually from a more of a, oh my goodness, from a perspective of, I'm going to continue to add value and I want to grow and build versus if I don't do this, everything's going to be burning down tomorrow. So the source of the energy is different. But the work ethic is still the same. But all this to say, to put a bow on it, the first 12 months of business is hard. It's way harder than you think. And actually, to put a bow on my Wednesday broadcast yesterday, which was the newsletter, did you guys get a chance to see that yet, by any chance? The very first part, Tatiana actually sent me an email, a picture last week, and it had a picture of me, okay, when our first food battle drive, which was not called Food Battle Time, we donated less than 100, and it was awesome, right? And we thought it was great. Now, last year we did 100,000 food items. We're going to hit 250,000. So all this to say, what I mean by this is most people dramatically overestimate what they can do in 12 months, but they dramatically underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I think that's a really important, framework, especially when you're just starting out. There's going to be days you're like, what did I get myself into? I share this in all my Zoom calls. It's so true. But you just got to suck it up, keep pushing forward, and know that like you are in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have an army, a tribe of people, just like your clients have a tribe of people that you created. And if you keep on, plugging into that tribe and keep moving forward, it's going to work out. To be ready for a fun first year, put it that way.
Speaking of you and